are going to talk about the emerging approaches in modeling adoption of agricultural technologies. Yesterday, I had a discussion with Dr. Mahesh Chandar, and he clearly told it should not be a like a complex session with a lot of things which are unknown to others. So I will make it very simple, and it's basically a sensitization session, which I am not going to talk about how we are going to do the modeling and others. What all the things we have to see while modeling the adoption of agricultural technologies. This is the main crux of this presentation. So we know the basic definition of diffusion and adoption. Diffusion is basically a spread of new technology through a social system. Basically, it's a longitudinal process because it takes time from one period of time when the technology is introduced into the social system. It goes into the social system to different places in a period of time. But adoption is basically an individual process, which says that it's like it's an individual process. Means like technology is introduced into the system. Actually, the system is composed of people from different backgrounds, different kind of people are there. Adoption is basically an individual process. A person decides to do it because of he believes that the technology is good, or his social system, there is a compulsion that you have to use this technology, and there are certain things which are determining the adoption behavior. And the fundamental thing in diffusion of adoption is the innovation. So innovation is basically a kind of idea. It may be an idea like material, our service technologies, like you make a spacing or you make a earthing up on this date, and you have to make a harvest because this is also a part of your package of practices, and it may be a practice which is suggested, or it may be an object, or it may be a material where adopter are perceiving something novel, because novelty is the fundamental concept, the fundamental characteristics of the innovation. But the problem is when there is a novelty, then there is uncertainty, because any technology which is released from the research institutions or others, so there is a risk that we don't know who is going to adopt it. Fundamentally, what we do in diffusion and adoption is we are actually reducing the uncertainty. So there is an uncertainty that how many people will adopt it, how many people will be using it, how many people will be benefited. We do not know about the new technology. But doing this adoption, diffusion research, which is conducted in previous similar technology, we will say that, okay, this is the type of people who are going to adopt it. This is the kind of reaction we are going to get it. So we'll be actually reducing the uncertainty. What is the purpose of doing this diffusion and adoption? Though I am not going to talk about this diffusion here, we'll be focusing only on the adoption component here. The fundamental thing what we do is prediction. We have to say that how many people will predict like adopt my technology after 1 year, after 2 years, after 3 years, or maybe at which is the end, which is fundamentally which is not actually working it. We need to do that. We need to do that, because that is a fundamental aspect of this adoption. Second one is when the technology is introduced into the system, and after a couple of years we found there's there is not much benefit the technology is giving to the farmers. Whether some farmers are adopting it, some farmers are stopped adopting it. We have to identify what is the reason why people are not adopting it. Why the pace of adoption is less. Like we might talk about this curve, diffusion curve, S-shaped curve. And the third one is increasing the adoption percentage. Ultimately, this is what we want to do in any kind of technology, and understanding the dynamics of diffusion and adoption, because this is very important. Because when in a scientific kind of research, we are conducting some kind of research in a more objective and systematic manner to identify what is a solution for the particular problem. The solution is given to the policymaker, but ultimately we have to see how the dynamics works. Then only you will be able to replicate the same kind of system later in some places. And the another one is to improve the technology development process. It is basically related to the feedback component. Whatever comes in the feedback, like you are going to tell to your scientists that this is the problem with this variety, or this is the problem with this technology. You are going to change it. Maybe the technology is modified, which is what we talk about this technology technology testing. What KVKs are doing, what Atari is doing is assessment and refinement. See, other one is before going into the modeling. I am not, you forget about model now, before studying the adoption. what are all the things what we have to do it, what are the things we have to take care of. Ultimately, like I will say that at present none of the things were considered. We are going into some kind of index, or we are going to some kind of percentage of technologies adopted, something like a adoption coefficient. There are some standard methods are there. You just go there and at any cross sectional make study, and then go to any village there, you go to farmer and start asking the questions. But adoption is not that much a simple thing which you will be studying at a particular point of time. The number one factor what you are supposed to do is type of technology. What type of technology you are going to study the adoption, like whether it is a material technology or whether it is a service technology, and there are other kind of technologies also, because this is the first thing what you are going to do in adoption studies. What kind of technology you are dealing with, number one, because adoption depends upon the nature of the technology. Second one is technology life cycle. Actually, this is very, very important. The S-shaped curve we talks about, that is a technology adoption life cycle. But technology life cycle is something like a technology is developed, and it is an action phase, it is in the maturity phase, and there is a decline phase. Because any technology like in pesticides or whatever we say, it will not stand more than 5 years. Ultimately, the life cycle of the technology in the social system will be maybe in some varieties which may having a larger life cycle. But we have to consider while conducting this adoption study, what is the present life cycle of the technology I am going to study with the adoption. Third one is the recommendation domain. It is a concept of CIMIT, which is actually proposed around 20 years ago. Recommendation domain says this is the geographical area where my technology is going to work, means it is suitable. We talk about technology suitability, relevancy, everything. We go to farmers and we do technology attributes and doing. But before going to the farmer, you have to do some kind of working. I will say that how to identify the recommendation domains. And the technology adoption potential means market size. It's basically a market size. Because this, suppose if I am making a kind of rice variety which is suitable for lowland conditions, we have to see first what is the size of the lowlands in India. Then among them, how many farmers are living who are using this lowland. Lowland is primarily, if you talk about the rain-fed, means you are again coming down. Rain-fed farmers who are doing in lowland condition. That means that only one season. Because the variety which you are going to develop or the which will be suitable only for those people, rain-fed cultivation and lowland condition. Because if you are doing the adoption study beyond these two, then it will be irrelevant. So you have to see the technology is developed for whom. Like, because that information you will be getting it through the technology release proposals, where which kind of agro ecosystem it will work. They might have done so many on-farm trials in different places, and based on on-farm trial they might have submitted. So it is very, very important. You have to see that what is actual technology adoption potential. Actually, we have to do it in the first, not at the last. I will tell you how to do that there. And the technology dissemination process. This is a very critical aspect. Technology may be developed and it is maybe available, but it is not disseminated properly. Like we make some kind of knowledge creation, so something like we go and make some kind of giving some folders, posters kind of thing. We give some training to the farmers. And we give some awareness programs to the farmer. We do on-farm trials, field day, frontline demonstration. But when you talk about the adoption, if you want to have a better adoption study, you have to say that whether technology dissemination process has reached the person which is supposed to reach. Because most of the time we go and do directly the adoption study without knowing that whether the person really knows about the variety or not. Because it's very, very important whether the technology has reached that person, and again, whether, suppose he may be knowing the presence of the technology. Suppose I talk about a variety, like he may be knowing that there is a salt tolerant rice variety which is suitable for the Orissa conditions, but he may not be knowing where the planting material is available. Then suppose even if he gets a planting material, and he might have done some kind of mini he got some mini kit and does it there, but that is not going to serve the purpose, because adoption depends upon the quantity, the magnitude, the quantity of technology, quantity of planting material you receive from the agency. The quantity of planting material should be in such a way that if you want a person to make 100% adoption technology, if he is having something like a 10 acres of land, maybe up to 2 acres of land, then you have to give the planting material in such a way that the 2 acres will be covered. So that you have to take the technology. And the other one, the final one is the stage of the innovation decision process. We talk about this innovation decision process now, knowledge. Yeah, it's I will explain later. You have to see that at what stage the farmer is there. When you select a sample to do the adoption study, you have to see that whether this person is really decided to adopt it, or he just know and just left it. Because these are the 6 different aspects you have to consider before designing any adoption study. Without considering these aspects, you will be going and doing some cross-sectional study. That is not going to serve the purpose because the results will be biased. So once you do your design, the adoption study by considering these aspects, then you will get the real adoption. Because we used to say many times like adoption score or whatever, it should be 100%. 100% will never be. Because you are going to a random person, you are going to some kind of like if KVK is working in an area where the policymaker will say that I want to see adoption of the technology. You really do not know that the technologies, whatever you disseminated, is really suitable for the region or not. It may be a suitable region for some other place, not in the particular KVK. And then it may not be a recommendation domain. And again, the technology which is introduced now, it is already an absolute technology because there are better technology. Because we don't see two other things also like a competitive products. So you talk about a salt tolerant rice variety, you are releasing it and you are promoting it through some KVK, but there are some indigenous varieties, they are competition because they are already occupying some space. If you want to remove, if you want to replace those indigenous varieties, you have to put this variety in such a way that farmers will be convinced. Conducting only FLD and doing something will not work. You have to make adoption, making the things adoption is a strategic process. By considering these aspects, you have to attack the people. Where are your potential adopters? You design a strategy so that you will be making them to use the technology. It is not like you will be doing something and later you will go with some questionnaire and you collect the data and you will say that adoption is 20%, 30%. No. You have to do in a very strategic form. So let's see different kind of technology. We know about the 2 general technology like material technology and service technology. It is like material is something like a variety pesticide or whatever you give in a for materialistic form. Service technology is some kind of recommendation like this particular date you give the irrigation, this particular date you do the weeding, this particular date you do the earthing up or whatever. This is the general type of technology. There are other 6 types of technologies. One is new to the world. The technology which is released is totally new. The farmer is not at all knowing. That means that you have a lot of uncertainty. You do not know farmer will use it or not. One example is something like golden rice. We also have a golden sweet potato, which is not there earlier, but the adoption potential determines, it depends upon how you have to take the benefits and convince the farmer. This is the one, because the way you are actually using the strategy is going to make the adoption. The other one is new technology lines. We talk about the technology which is already there, but you are trying to develop some salt tolerant variety. Any variety, the primary breeding objective is your high yielding variety or something like a disease resistant. But nowadays, due to this climate issues, we are going for a stress STRV, stress tolerant rice varieties. That is a completely new line of our new technology lines. And the third one is technology line additions. When I talk about the stress tolerant rice variety, there are drought tolerant rice varieties, there are flood tolerant rice varieties, there are salt tolerant rice varieties. I just said that the technology line is your stress tolerant rice variety, but you are actually extending the technology line by adding some more varieties which are adding individually, which are related to some kind of stress, some kind of drought, some kind of flood, which is called the technology line additions. The other one is improvements or revisions, because this is whatever you are doing in this adaptive research. So what KVKs are doing, technologies are doing assessment, and you are saying this particular component has to be removed. For example, you are doing integrated pest management, you are implementing it. One particular component of the integrated pest management is not suitable for that particular region. So you are telling to your scientists, either you remove it, you substitute it. Like one example is now chemical pesticides. Actually, some IPM practices are already developed long ago, which are having some chemicals which has to be replaced with organic because of the government policy. So that is called improvement and revision. Actually, it makes the technology into a different form. And another one is repositioned technology. I will give an example about oats. Oats was there long ago. but people thought just like it's any other cereal. But nobody thought like oats will be having something like obesity reduction properties. And oats was relaunched again. Oats was relaunched again, and then it's saying the people are saying like it is trying to reduce obesity. The total adoption of oats, the total consumption of oats, prior to saying that it is creating it's reducing obesity is much lesser. When it is told that it has a dietary fiber, it has something which is reducing obesity, then adoption potential is high. Same thing is told in a different form. This is a reposition technology. So why we need to know about this type of technology means each technology has a specific user. It is suitable for only specific agro ecosystem, specific socioeconomic status, and again it meets the specific need of some people. For example, if there is a suppose I talk about my about the tuber crops, we have a mosaic disease in cassava, which is prevalent, which is more serious issue in Tamil Nadu than Kerala and other places. Because if I want to develop a mosaic resistant variety, my variety will be satisfying the need of only the commercial production systems in Tamil Nadu, because that means that even my technology promotion strategy has to focus only on the area where it is satisfying some need of the farmer, not in other places like you go and promote some variety which is not at all useful for some people. So the other one is technology life cycle. This is a standard concept in marketing management. Like there are 4 phases: the research and development phase, action phase, maturity phase, and there is a decline phase. So this is a research and development phase. That means the technology has not come into the market. Here the technology has come into the market. Finally, it reached the maturity stage. Then there is a decline stage. So that means that, and this is for only one technology. Suppose you talk about some salt tolerant rice variety, but the same technology substitute should be available. Some other institute might have released some variety. If you put this technology life cycle of that variety, that may be a much different. Suppose adoption is determined by not only the technology attributes of your variety, technology attributes of the other varieties also. When suppose if somebody is making a business plan, if somebody is interested or involved in some kind of business plan or feasibility report making, there is a competitor matrix. So any technology, when you are releasing into the market, you have to see what is other technology which are already available in the market, which are already technologies which are available by private agencies, like a seed production. So many seed agencies are there, they are giving a much better varieties than our own variety. So before releasing into any variety or before assessing any adoption of those things, we have to consider those things also, because our technology is going to cover only a narrow region. It is not going to cover everywhere, because other places, other people are having a better technology than yours. So we have to consider at what life stage of their technology as well as our technology. And the third one is this recommendation domain. The concept of recommendation domain was introduced in 1980s by CIMMYT. Basically, it is an identification of suitable geographical area comprising of potential adopters for a specific technology. So actually here we are going to combine the data about individual psychological attributes like innovativeness and others, technology attributes, as well as your geographical area like your agro ecosystems. And then all the data are pulling together to identify which is a suitable area if I take my technology and if I put it there, so that will be having a good potential adoption. So it is actually the locations exhibiting homogeneity of biophysical and socioeconomic factors where specific types of development policies, investment, livelihood option technologies are likely to be effective. Now the current focus of this recommendation domain, earlier they used to say that when a technology is released, you have to identify the recommendation domain before starting the dissemination process. Without identifying recommendation domain, don't start any extension activity. So you don't start any planting material distribution activity. That was the original concept of the recommendation domain, but now it is slightly changed. Where they are doing the recommendation domain is when we do the on-farm trials, because multi-location trials, and then we are identifying in some locations the variety is performing well. So you have to identify, we have to actually identify the places which is the replica of the location where a particular variety is performing good. So we say that that particular variety is performing, the particular variety is performing good in one place. Like it's good in coming in very well in the Tara area of this Uttarakhand. That means that we have to see the complete data. What is what is the soil condition? What is the climatic condition? All the data has to be collected, and including the economic characteristics, like what is the present level of poverty, what is the present level of irrigation potential, what is the present level of income. All the data has to be collected, only relevant data. And then you have to collect some data about the farmers' socio-psychological characteristics, like a scientific orientation, innovativeness, or whatever we say. And then that data, we have to see where is the matching area, because in other area also we will be identifying like in a very macro level that this area is good. We have to go there and conduct some pilot study and then identify which is the matching area for this. We may go for a similarity analysis, like we do it in propensity score matching in impact analysis. So there, that area only the particular technology will be promoted. That means that which are the areas in OFT that particular technology is performing well. The areas which are similar to the OFT areas will be identified, and then only those areas technology will be promoted. It will not be promoted in other areas. That means that you are actually reducing the technology dissemination cost. So it is a good tool for the policymakers. So they are using GIS for this geospatial analysis. They are collecting data about the agroecosystems, biophysical characteristics, and socioeconomic factors. They are using the analysis approaches, similarity analysis, using the geographical. There are several softwares, not only ArcGIS, Tableau also will work here. There is a R package. There is a package for this that is also working for. We don't actually need the satellite images here, but you need the data. You need the data. You need the data about the soil, climate, and those things there. All the data are put together. You are actually combining the biophysical, natural with psychological data. And then you are designing into, you are identifying a domain, recommendation domain, where you go and promote your variety or promote your technology. Adoption is definitely going to be more than 90%. So this is the adoption model we are all talking about. We will be coming a bit later about this. So the fourth component is a technology adoption potential. So it is basically a market size in marketing management. No, here you can see total available market for a particular variety. It means rice farmers in India, rain-fed farmers and lowland cultivation. And then served available market means only those people who are actually getting this kind of varieties, the people who are having the access to those varieties. Because this we will be getting the information from several ACRP projects. And you can also get the information from SAUs where the technologies are already there. Somebody might have done the national level adoption. Then this is your target market, because any technology which is coming out of any research institute, it will not be adopted everywhere in the world. It will be adopted only in the place where it is more suitable. Like, because we have already done the recommendation domain. Okay. So from the recommendation domain, we are identifying which area we will be focusing. Anybody who is designing any technology dissemination strategy, or you are doing any adoption study, you have to make this is the area where my technology is actually having some potential. So only those areas you go and collect data, not in the places where others areas. And again, when a technology is released now, like if I am asking, because I am an extension person, if the technology is released now, if somebody asks where I will be promoting this technology, I will have to do all kind of calculations from here. So from the previous data, I will be taking this, then I will be identifying this is the area where my technology is going to work, only those places. And again, you cannot make a 100% adoption in the first year. You have to say that first year, I will make a technology dissemination thing to reach the farmer up to 20%. Then later year, I will make it 20% more, so that you covered 50% in 3, means that 50% of the target group through your extension activities in 3 years. That means that you can do kind of analysis, the adoption study only up to that area. Because where the technology has not reached, you cannot conduct the adoption study. So finally, the fifth very, very important thing is technology dissemination process. If the technology has not gone to the person which is supposed to go, it's a failure. That is what we see in many kind of reports, like that adoption is only 40%, and then we say that there is an extension failure. So again, it is not like doing only FLD or conducting awareness campaigns or conducting others. The technology, material technology has to reach there. The fundamental thing in material technology is variety. Like you have to make sufficient planting material in such a way that it should reach to the concerned person. If it is not reaching, means there is no meaning of conducting adoption studies there. So it has to reach the concerned person in sufficient quantity. Means I am talking about the quantity of seed required for 1 hectare of land. Means the number of land area what he has, the minimum requirement of the planting material has to reach him. Only going and giving some dissemination, some training program, some leaflet distribution will not work. Support system has to be strong. And again, when a variety is given to a farmer, I already told any innovation has an uncertainty because it's a novel thing. So how will the uncertainty will be reduced? Through continuous extension support and the technology support, because you plant a variety and then germination percentage is very poor. The farmers, I don't know how to increase the germination percentage because he got only one mini kit of the variety. He has to contact the extension person. So the extension system has to give help from giving the material to the harvest. Maybe sometime nowadays we talk about after harvest also, like we have to, because new varieties which are having very less market. So we have to give the service. It is not about the extension program. It is about extension service. Like you have to be available at any time. If there is a disease in it there, you have to give an answer. If there is a pest, you have to give an answer. If there is a shortage of some critical input, you have to arrange them. So that technology dissemination process does not mean that you go and disseminate everything. No, you have to give a full support. That is why nowadays the system is coming, that extension and advisory services, including advice, we are also giving service to them. So finally, the final aspect which we will be taking is the stage of the innovation decision process. Like you already know at knowledge, persuasion, decision, implementation and confirmation. Before designing any adoption study, maybe when you are designing an adoption study, try to see that at what level of the innovation decision process the person is, because it determines your adoption data. Like what is the result you are trying to give. Suppose if the person you are contacting is only in the knowledge phase, then adoption will be definitely nil. If you have to contact the person only in the implementation and the confirmation stage, not in the previous stage. Suppose somebody has decided to adopt it. This is also not the stage which you are going. We actually use a symbolic adoption, but that is not the actual thing. We have to see what is the actual adoption. That means that you have to focus only on the implementation and confirmation stage participant. You have to, before asking the question, you have to make a screening of the participant, whether this person is really suitable or not. Otherwise, you are going to get the inflated results. So I am coming again. It's a recap. Aspects to be considered for adoption modeling. One is the type of technology, whether it is a material technology or service technology. Please remember, service technology adoption is definitely high because you are going to give only information to them. But material technology adoption depends upon how much material you are giving to them. So any kind of work which are focusing on material technology, please make sure that the material has already reached them. If the material has not reached to them, so there is no meaning of conducting adoption at all. So finally, you will come out that extension service is very poor. So you have to be considered very, very important component. Second one is technology life cycle. You have to see at what stage of the particular technology. Suppose you talk about, I gave an example about salt tolerant rice variety. You have to see at what particular stage the technology. Suppose you are introducing now the salt tolerant variety, but there are other competitive technologies which are already available. Means like one university might have released a variety and one ICAR institute might have released a variety. In ACRP, when the variety goes that they are also testing against their own university varieties. But that means that what is the level of your other substitute varieties which are already there? What is their technology life cycle? That is also very important. And when you are going for adoption study, you cannot go to and conduct the adoption study at the maturity level. Suppose your technology has already reached the declining phase, don't conduct adoption study, because you have to see the time period when the variety was released, when the variety was introduced by the KVK in the particular village, and then you have to have a reasonably good period of time. And again, don't do it in the first year. Adoption will be much lesser. Ideally, you have to do any adoption kind of study only after 2, 3 or 4 years. And please remember, adoption is an indicator of impact. Impact, there are three things. One is your one is your output, outcome, and impact. Adoption is basically an outcome. It is not an output. Output, you are giving some intervention programs are there. In third year or fourth year, the intervention program completes. Then again, you have to wait for 2 more years. But in the 2 more years, you have to give sufficient support functions. Means you have to give sufficient planting material. Whoever is coming and asking you, you have to provide some solutions to the pest and diseases that are already happening. Like you can use a WhatsApp group or whatever you do it. But then after 5 years only, like 3 years for your project, 2 years for the period time, something like incubation time. Then after 5 years, you go and do the adoption study. Not immediately after the end of the project. And again, don't do any adoption study after 10 years or 15 years, because your technology might have been already replaced with another technology. And the recommendation domain. Suppose if the recommendation domain is already identified by the KVK or the university, then your job is much easier. Because if recommendation domain is not identified, you try to make a recommendation domain by yourself and go and collect data only from those places. One example is wherever the KVK or the organization has conducted the extension activity, you collect the last 5-year data. From there only you go and collect the data. Don't just go to the place where the program, at least the villages which are adjacent to that, because we talk about the lateral diffusion, no? Like basically adoption is basically any kind of imitation. So you have to see only the reasonable place who are our participants, then you go and do the study. And the technology adoption potential. Try to see that where this technology is of much demand, whether it has already reached there, then that's what we used to do, no? Like a area, highest area and lowest area, we make a comparison there. And then technology dissemination process, yeah, this is what I was telling. The KVK or any organization must have conducted some program in the nearby villages are there. Then only you can go for adoption study. Where the program was not at all conducted, so it is naturally the adoption level is going to be less unless until there is a strong lateral diffusion. And the stage of innovation process, because this will be used as a screening, inclusive and exclusive criteria for identifying the samples for doing this adoption study. So now we are coming to this adoption models. I will explain because this is a very simple model which I am not going to explain here. This is a classical adoption model because adoption is a concept. It has come from marketing. It's not original to our extension. We have adopted it through marketing. Marketing, what they do the pre-trial, something like a test marketing. Then they see how many people are coming, repeat purchase behavior, and this is one model. It's a sprinter model, and another one is SSR model. This is a bit complex. I am not going to explain, just for your information. Now we are coming to the actual models, what we are going to use it in our field. That is all agent-based models. Here, agent-based models are based on the imitation, because adoption and diffusion are focusing, it's mainly on imitation. You do FLD, you are watching them, you are watching somebody is doing the FLD, and you are going and watching how much of yield is increased, how much of pests died, how much of disease controlled, and you are using it. Either watching the potential of the technology or watching your neighbor. Like he is also adopting, so I will also adopt it. So whole adoption and diffusion is process depends upon the imitation. Gabriel D. Darte's theory of imitation. All the adoption studies are fundamentally, the process of adoption is basically based on the imitation. Second one is adoption is an explicit decision. Means something which is visible. A person has taken a decision and implemented it. Because the implicit decisions are done through symbolic adoption. We are not focusing on the symbolic adoption here because adoption is actually happening. So out of 20 acres of land, this fellow has used 10 acres of land, this new variety. So that means that this is an adoption which is actually visible outside. And then adoption may have a different levels. Partial, fully adoption, partial adoption, non-adoption, or discontinuance. So we know what is the meaning of those things. And the agent-based models are the type of model which actually using it, but we may not be knowing the terminology, but we are actually using the agent-based model. There are different agent-based models, but we are using last two. Social, not even last two, last one. Most of the adoption studies, what we do is with all probit, logit, everything, all econometric estimation of choice probabilities. But there are other adoption models. It is not the only one way of measuring adoption. There are other adoption models. So I will explain simple decision rules. It's a very primary model. Here there is a concept of threshold. Okay, so threshold means the degree of imitation. That means that a farmer is adopting a technology because surrounding people have already adopted technology. He is adopting it. That means that his neighbors, his village people, they have adopted it. So I am coming for the adoption. That means that at certain point of time means if a person has to make a decision to adopt the technology, if there is a village of 100 people are there and if you are introducing one technology there, if I want to decide I want to adopt this technology as per this simple decision rule model, so minimum of out of 99, because excluding you 99 people, 80% should have adopted, then only I will adopt it. So some people will be say that out of this 99, 20 people should have adopted it, then only I will adopt it. It is basically like a categorization of your adoption. 12.5%, something like you do it, no, like innovator, early majority, late majority. So that particular number of adopters surrounding him should be reached, then only he will do the adoption. So we make some probability estimation. So we say that in this particular area, what is a threshold means what is the number, the last number of persons should be adopted so that this fellow will adopt it. So there are some simple mathematical models are there, which I am not going, you can refer this reference. And the second approach is utility based approach. So utility means a person will see, no, there is, I will not adopt because others are adopting. No, I will see that how much that particular technology is useful for me. That is a quality expectations. If you talk about a variety, it means that variety should have a match the quality which is pursued by that is actually the needs. We are matching the needs with utility. And the second one is social utility. There are two utilities. One is how much I am going to gain. So how much my community is going to gain. They see two things. One is individual utility and the social utility. To measure this, there are some other methods. You can you refer internet and you will be getting it. I am not going to explain how it is being measured because that will be more complex. And the third one is state transition approach. State transition approach means adoption stages. Like one example I am here, it is awareness, information seeking, adopter, word of mouth spreading. There are different stages of adoption. You already know there are different stages. But if a person, a probabilistic transition between the states, adoption stages, there are two stages, basically two stages, potential adoption and adoption. Potential adoption is actually symbolic adoption. Okay. And when a person is having a symbolic adoption, if he really wants to do the adoption, what is a threshold? There are some characteristics are there, some variables are there. You have to collect the data from there. From there, you have to identify what is the probability of the person who is having a symbolic adoption will be moving to the actual adoption. So that person collect the data from all the people, develop the model and apply the model to this fellow. Then if the person should cross this particular score, then only he is going to actually adopt it. So this is the state transition approach. And another one is opinion dynamics approach. So it is basically a choice. Variety A is the best choice for me than any other thing. So it is a collective opinion formation. Like what we do is each individual has a probabilistic opinion assigned to the proportion. Like A is the best choice ever made. His opinion is influenced by adoption behavior and acquaintance, because here it's a trait theory. Somebody is developing an opinion, like your extension worker is going to a field, conducting an FLD, and there are so many people are there. One particular person is saying like it is not good for me in the first day one. Maybe in the day 100 or day 200, when one FLD or two FLDs are conducted there, and then you observe it, the person is actually observing there, and then finally is saying like, okay, I change my opinion. Hey, this variety is the better than my variety. So to do that, you have to identify a threshold. How to do that? There is a mathematical approach that you can go through it. So I'm just explaining the concept. I'm not going into the mathematical calculation of all these things. And the emerging approaches are social psychological approaches, which is basically, I will say, that extension based approach. Like they are focusing more of psychological theories of the behavior. Because because I used to tell in many cases, extension is all about individual decision. You may talk about you may talk about climate change, you may talk about entrepreneurship, you may talk about ICT, whatever the case, you are actually measuring a behavior change. It may be an empowerment, it may be a knowledge, or it may be a skill, it may be an attitude, or it may be an ability, it may be an opinion, or whatever. You are actually measuring the change which is happening inside a person. That means that a person is the ultimate authority who decides what is he is going to do, what is he is going to adopt, what kind of knowledge he is going to gain, what kind of skill he is going to develop, whether to participate in a training program or not, whether to do some entrepreneurship ventures or not. It is all person based. So social psychological approach is going to come in a bigger way about the adoption in the future, which actually in my PhD I have done this social psych, that is for computer use behavior. I used this theory of planned behavior, like a technology acceptance model. So here the two very important thing is theory of planned behavior. It says that adoption is, this is actually an adoption, behavior change. So adoption has some precedence. So adoption is not one-time category. It comes after all these things happen. One is he has to form a favorable attitude. There is a subjective norm because a person is making a decision not because he wants it. He will also see what his neighbor will think. He will also see what my family will think. He will also see what my community will think if I do this activity, if I adopt this, because that is called the subjective norms. Means it says that how a person is standing, means how stable his decision making is. And then again, the perceived behavioral control. It is actually a stability in the decision making. You make a decision of using the adoption, but you are actually not doing it. Why you are not doing it is because you saw some FLD of some variety there, and then you are convinced, you already crossed that innovation decision process, everything is done, but you are not adopted because the planting material is not available. So some external factors have changed your decision, or else somebody in your home are opposing it. All the information will be coming in perceived behavioral control. This is more about your society, how your society will think. It is about your own attitude, because attitude is not an individual concept, it is a socio-psychological concept. So, and again, intention to do it means when somebody is convinced, he will say that, okay, I will do it. Please make, whenever you are making an attitude statement, because I know, I don't know how many of you are aware about these attitude theories. There are object-based theories and behavior-based theories. And object-based theories means says that the GMOs are not good. They will say that you are having an opinion about the GMO. But behavior-based attitude is something like, I will not use GMO because I dislike GMO. Because here you are actually saying about the actual application of GMO here. And nowadays we are going for a hybrid kind of attitude measurement model, where the attitude statement will have both opinion and attitude about the object as well as attitude about the behavior. Here we are talking about the behavior, many kind of thing. When you make theory of planned behavior, please make the statement which are reflecting the behavior, not the attitude. And then finally, here the behavior is your adoption or non-adoption or partial adoption, everything. So to get to this point, you have to do this point, because the biggest advantage of doing the socio-psychological approach is you can predict clearly that whether this person is going to adopt technology or not, well in advance. So you develop a scale and you give the scale to them, and you will say that after 2 years this fellow will discontinue. You will be able to predict the behavior of the person. Here, please remember, we are also taking into the contextual factors, because most of the time, no psychology. When we talk about a psychology, we talk about only about person. In the input is not available, climate change is there, and the extension service is not available. Here, these attributes are primary attributes of the theory. Here, you can also put these other things, external environment, how the external environment is affecting. You can add a couple of variables here. So the next one is technology acceptance model. It is basically based on the previous theory, but with a little bit changes. Here you can see the external variable, which I was telling in the previous one. All the climatic variable, input variable, market stability variable, something like all these things can be included here. Okay, so when a variety or when a technology is introduced to the farmer through some FLD, so he will be seeing this, like I told about adoption is fundamentally an imitation process. He will be seeing it and he will be making a kind of opinion, because perceived usefulness. This technology will be very useful for me or not. And then perceived use of use means this is basically a viability. compatibility component in technology attribute. These variables together, which are developing an attitude there. Attitude towards the object means this variety is good for me, but he has not decided whether he will be using it or not here. Okay. The next one, he is deciding that I will be using it because it's good. I also tried. I also saw other people who are getting good income out of it. Okay, I'll be using it. Then finally the actual use. Please remember, every stage is interconnected here. And actual adoption is a function of all these things. It will not come directly. But the biggest advantage here, if we are able to quantify those things, maybe at this level, you will say that this fellow will adopt it or not. So this is the beauty of this kind of modeling, doing a socio-psychological modeling there. I have done it, but you need some little bit complex. This is basically a path analysis. The diagram which I am showing is a path analysis. You have to use the structural equation modeling for doing this. Because without which, because structural equation modeling, there are two types are there: covariance based models and partial least square model. Normally people use a covariance based model, and partial least square model is also good because you don't consider normality there again. This is doing this kind of modeling requires a good knowledge of statistics, which I can explain like whenever, because some of you might have attended my classes on structural equation modeling, how this model works, how to collect the data. So everything, maybe some other time we will be having a full session on structural equation modeling here. And finally, like in socio-psychological theory, what are the different variables you have to consider? Individual psychological variables: IQ, cognitive style, knowledge and skills. If you are focusing on the knowledge gain or adoption of ICT tools, and then affective mood-based kind of things, individual psychological variable. Relational variables, because attitudes and beliefs are the relational variables. So you can see attitude toward behavior or object of the behavior, extrinsic motivation, perceived usefulness, relative advantage, risk perception, financial cost. Intrinsic motivation, perceived ease of use, technology anxiety, enjoyment, cognitive absorption or flow. Normative compliance beliefs means subjective norms, like a level of compatibility with my own behavior, how I am perceiving, what is my value, whether it is compatible with my value, and a compatibility with the social systems. And the attitude towards the beliefs about the object. Here you are actually thinking of doing it. Here you are thinking about the particular object, that the GMO is not good for me, something like this. Perceived observability means technology should be observable, like it is all there in your technology attributes. Perceived voluntariness, subjective exposure to communication channels, because we are collecting this data through communication behavior. And attitude and beliefs about the related aspects. And in general, attitude towards science. You are actually measuring attitude towards science through scientific orientation. Actually, we are doing it, but I am trying to group them into a broad category so that you will be getting a more clear understanding about this adoption process. And other external variables, technology attributes, features along with the complexity, and the socio-technical variable means trialability and technical support availability, which are already there in your technology attributes, but I am grouping into different areas. Finally, you are coming to this econometric estimation of the choice probabilities. This is what we are doing nowadays. People are obsessed with logic, probit, tobit, which is actually an econometric method, which is not a socio-psychological method, where some method models are developed for economics people to satisfy their thing. But I am, because statistics, which I feel like extension statistics, we are more into psychometrics than the econometrics. I have done this econometrics, a lot of analysis earlier, but this is not the correct way of measuring the adoption, because that we'll be having a much more detailed discussion in maybe in some other forum. Why econometric estimation, which I am saying it is not possible, because if you take a logic model, there are binary model and multinomial logic and ordered logic. Because these econometrics models are basically limited dependent variable, means your dependent variable is adoption. Adoption will have two sessions, adopted or non-adopted. Then you will go for a logic model. The advantage in logic model is you can put all these variables together, and then you will be getting some result like odds ratio or whatever. From there you will be making an interpretation. In case of probit, you have more than two options like a partial adoption or something like there are more probabilities, then you will be going for a probit. But in TOBIT, you will be going for the adoption index. There are limits which are not 0 and 1 and 2. There is a limit between 1 to 10, because in most of the cases in adoption indexes, you will be getting that value between some range. So if you want to get a values in range, you will be going for a TOBIT model. But the problem with this model is you are entering some of the variables as a dependent variable, but no theory at all. Here, I am talking about in socio-psychological thing, previous my slides, you might have seen, your adoption is a function of several variables you are putting into a theoretical form. When you make a model based on theoretical form, it will predict exactly what it is supposed to predict. But here, in kind of this econometric estimation, you are thinking only about adoption. You are putting all kind of variables together, age, everything together. There is no theory why you are putting it. There is no rationality at all. So if you want to do kind of any kind of adoption, maybe in a prediction mode, you try to use these socio-psychological theories. Maybe all the external factors, whatever you are talking about, availability of material or whatever the things, which can be added as a variable there. So it will be naturally it will be taking a lot of sample size, because you have to have a minimum 300 to 400 sample size for testing, and validation another 300. So it will be like a 600, 700 sample size you need it. But the model you are going to get is much more robust, much more conceptually clear, and much more theoretical than using these econometric choice probability models. Then finally, we are coming to these conclusions. Like I will say that understanding technology, personal, contextual factors are the key for effective modeling. Diffusion and adoption are based on the technology adoption potential. You cannot directly go and do the areas in a random place. We have to have some work, some background work before going into a kind of adoption studies. Mathematical models are proven to be effective in predicting adoption. Probably you have to identify the relevant model for a relevant problem. It is not like a simple blanket application of the mathematical models, no. And you need to develop expertise in modeling of diffusion adoption. Definitely we need a strong statistical expertise to do that. And nowadays mathematical modeling is coming, like neural networks, fuzzy logic, AHP, you might have heard, analytical hierarchy process, because basically they are human decision models. So they are giving in a different dimension. The way it works is a different dimension. So we have to have a definitely like so far we have considered adoption only for getting the information about the percentage of people adopting and giving to the policymakers or scientists. So this much of adoption is there. No, adoption is not for documentation, it is for prediction. So to do the prediction, you have to have a strong theory, strong practical application of your knowledge, as well as strong way of conducting the adoption studies. Means it's a more of a scientific. So today's session is about, we are going to talk about the emerging approaches in modeling adoption of agricultural technologies. So today's session is about we approach, more of a controlled approach, more of a something like finally I will say it's a logical approach. So you have to use your logical sense. You have to use your common sense for doing any kind of this adoption studies. Thank you.